It was July 13th, 2024, just 115 days before Election Day in the United States. At a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, gunshots rang out.
They said, take a look at what happened.
Donald J. Trump, the Republican Party's nominee for president, was grazed by a bullet. He survived, but barely. What if he hadn't? What if the bullet had struck just 1 inch to the left? What happens when the leading candidate for president is suddenly gone? The terrifying truth? America has no plan. The U.S. Constitution is a masterwork of Enlightenment foresight. It plans for presidential death, for disability, for succession. It even plans for nuclear war, for rebellion, for mass casualty events. But it says nothing about this. Nothing about the sudden death or incapacitation of a candidate who hasn't yet been elected. Not a sitting president, not a president-elect, just a nominee. There is no federal law to guide us, no statute, no protocol. The only fallback? Private political parties, the Republicans, the Democrats, each with their own internal rule books. And in that moment, a national crisis becomes a private affair. Deep inside the Republican Party's rule book is a clause few Americans have ever heard of. Rule 9. It says this: if the Republican presidential nominee dies, withdraws, or is otherwise removed, the Republican National Committee shall choose the replacement. Not the voters, not the delegates, not the courts. Just them. The Republican National Committee is made up of 168 people, 3 from each state and U.S. territory, a committeeman, a committeewoman, and a state party chair. In a normal year, they organize, fundraise, operate in the background. But in this crisis, they become kingmakers. They don't vote equally. Their votes are weighted according to how many delegates their state had at the National Convention. That means 3 members from California control 172 votes. 3 from Alaska, just 28. If they disagree, the vote gets split, even into fractions. These 168 people, faced with unimaginable pressure, would be asked to decide who replaces Trump on the ballot. It wouldn't be public. There wouldn't be debates, no rallies, no TV ads. It would be phone calls, encrypted messages, private deals made in back rooms, hotel lobbies, and secure lines. The vice presidential nominee would likely be the frontrunner, but Rule 9 gives them no special status. They'd have to fight for it. Governors, senators, former rivals, each would see a once-in-a-generation opportunity. Each would start making calls within hours. Endorsements, promises, cabinet positions traded like currency, all to win the vote of 168 unelected people. It would be the fastest, most brutal, most consequential campaign in modern American history. And it would happen entirely in the shadows. Even if a new nominee is chosen in time, that's only the beginning. The real war would happen in all 50 states. Ballots are not federal. They're controlled by state law, each with its own rules, deadlines, and limitations. Most state deadlines for certifying candidates come in August, and the federal law that protects military voters, UCOVA, requires ballots be ready by September 21st. Miss that deadline, and it's game over. What do you do if Trump's name is already printed on 100 million ballots? What if people are already voting by mail? You can't reprint, you can't delay. So the party turns to one final legal trick. It's called the ghost vote. The party tells voters, Trump's name is still on the ballot, but if you vote for him, you're really voting for the new nominee. Because in the US, you don't vote for a president, you vote for electors, party loyalists who cast the real votes in December. And those electors pledged to Trump would be ordered to cast their votes for their replacement. The message would flood the airwaves. Vote for Trump to elect someone else. But would voters trust that? Would they even understand it? The nation would be in mourning, confused, divided. Conspiracy theories would erupt. Social media would melt down. Millions might stay home unsure if their vote counts. And in the middle of it all, the election would go forward, in a fog of trauma, distrust, and fear. Donald Trump survived that day. But in that split second, America stared into the abyss. We learned that the system isn't resilient. It's lucky. There's no constitutional fix, no federal safety net, only party rules, legal patchwork, and hope. The question now isn't what if, it's what next. Because next time, we may not be so lucky.